Well, hey there, it's a Friday sports algorithm podcast. I didn't think I was going to have time to do one today and then got everything else done. And not only did I get everything else done, but I prepared NHL today. I prepared college basketball also. And I went to go do NBA and saw there's no NBA games today. So I'm like, oh, I'm bored. What should I do? How about Mexican soccer? That's right. We are going to do Liga MX Mexican soccer because I did put a ton of time into developing a huge soccer algorithm conglomerate of a bunch of different soccer leagues. And Liga MX is one of them. And I'm going to go through the process of updating this because I'm going to put the soccer algorithms for sale. I know that over the summer, you've got a lot of baseball, but also the MLS season goes on over the summer. So if you're looking for something other than baseball to deal with, I mean, I've heard soccer can pay. I haven't had a lot of success with the soccer algorithms, but like all the algorithms, they get work done. So we'll talk about Mexican soccer at the end of this, and maybe in Espanol. Porque no puedo hablar en español muy bueno, pero atento. So we'll try doing this in Spanish and talk about Mexican soccer because I like watching soccer. Actually, I mean, every goal is big, right? We talk about swings and odds. Every goal is big. Well, let's start with hockey. So we have 5 games on the schedule tonight. Hockey algorithm, I mean, you can draw knowledge off of this, so let's try to. Number 1 pick of the day, it says LA over a really struggling Anaheim. Minus 250 is bad, but not the worst thing ever. So that probably goes on a round robin or a parlay, LA to win. Number 2 pick, Ottawa over Chicago with Sogard going in net, who had a good start his first time, I believe. Against Mrazek, Chicago, another team really struggling. Here you've also got a line minus 265, but the margins are big, so that's probably another one that goes on around robin. But hockey is so tough, and I don't recommend betting lines like this. Number 3, Rangers over Edmonton. Here's an underdog line. Even though the projected score is a little conflicting, you've got potentially Stuart Skinner going for Edmonton instead of their other goalie, right? Maybe. I don't know. That's a good thing to wait to see who it is, but Shesterkin is confirmed, and that's kind of the one you care about. Rangers playing excellent after their trades. That's nice underdog line. That's a straight bet right there for all you straight bettors. Number 4 pick, Dallas and Minnesota. Once again, only minus 110 here. Minnesota seems to get a little bit more money on them than they should. I've noticed that. Maybe it's all the hardcore hockey fans in Minnesota liking to make bets. But this team seems, Gustafson's rating's really good. Look at the under potential in this game. What is the over-under set at? Over-under's 5.5, unfortunately. But really thinks a super low scoring game that Dallas can win, and your line is about even. And then Islanders and Pittsburgh. Islanders have not been playing out of the break. Pittsburgh a little better. It says the Islanders barely, but this is the toss-up game and the toss-up line. So it doesn't really know who's going to win this one. So in summary, LA should win. Ottawa should win, but lines are bad. Rangers should win and line is good. Dallas and under here. Like in under 5.5, like these are really good goals. Anytime you see really green goaltenders right here, I mean, look what it's doing to the score. Like it thinks it's a 2-1 game, 2-2 goes, to overtime or something like that. So that's hockey. Now let's go over to college basketball. Lighter day today on Friday. College basketball algorithm been on a fantastic run since we instituted the line value thing here to kind of compare our implied line to the actual line and to bet accordingly on things that have value. Today, not a lot to choose from. So we've got let's see here. We have 17 games. Home teams, what we care about. There are 6. There's only 1 value pick, which happens to be Ryder over Canisius, a little injured Canisius. You can see that these 2 injuries on this side of Canisius and Brown mean Ryder and Princeton probably win. And the line value is still kind of reasonable to the implied. These are awful lines still. You're still looking at those bad hockey lines. And then Grand Canyon's injured against Abilene Christian. And that injury cost them last game as well. So definitely stay away from this at minus 300. You could almost consider Abilene Christian at plus 6.5 because these injuries here. So you really have to now start to dig deep to figure out how do you bet these games, because these 2 picks are probably going to win as home teams with lines better than 300, but that's it. And that doesn't pay a lot. So even if you bet both these as straight bets and only win one of them, you lose. So this is really trouble today on this end of it. So maybe Abilene Christian plus 6.5. Let's take a look at our away teams. Do we have any huge favorites? We don't even, because the odds makers heard what I said about away teams only winning half the time. So what do you do here? You got some injuries over here. Yuck, yuck, double yuck, triple yuck. There's a whole lot of yuck. It makes me want to go on to soccer. This is awful. At least these margins are low. So basically, you're supposed to take all these home teams. Siena's a little bit injured. Quinnipiac's again. I would. Oh gosh, this is so terrible. You're going with your gut here. I would go with Quinnipiac because I feel like they're a better team. But now I'm talking out of my instinct. And anytime I start talking about what I know, don't listen to me. Listen to the algorithm. Only go with Quinnipiac because Siena's a little injured, not because I think they're good. Don't go with Air Force because they're injured and Wyoming's not. Although this dog line is good, but everybody here's on the road. It's terrible. Purdue Fort Wayne is going to be an underdog. All right, so that one's possible because that's only a 1% margin for Northern Kentucky. Purdue Fort Wayne's at home. The other side of that is going to be here. Let's open up everything. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Actually, no, we do it the other way. It's better. I always start doing it the wrong way. What you want to do is you want to say, I want home teams with up to 20% bump. What you want. And the higher on the list, the better. And so you start to see these teams pop up here. Cleveland State's a pretty good team too. So it's saying Wyoming, Wyoming's minus 205. Never mind. It's Purdue Fort Wayne at plus 126. That's the one. See how they're popping out here as underdogs? There's this one. Marist is injured, so that's probably not a good idea. And Pennsylvania is way down here, barely covering a 20% margin against Yale, but it is plus 130. So it's really this one. So Purdue Fort Wayne is the straight bet home team of the day. And the other two should also win. So I'm thinking, if you throw a big round robin together with stuff that's supposed to win, and you're trying to throw together 5, 6 of them, it's Rider and Princeton. And then it's in the hockey file, those go with LA, Ottawa, and probably the under here in this game. I'm going to take the alternate under 6 just to try to get a push on it. If it's not that much worse of a line, just in case it goes 4-2 or something. And then, it's really these four, right? It's Ottawa, LA, Rider, and Quinnipiac. That's a 4-team round robin with bad 250, 260 lines where it's real tough to go worse than 3-1 on that. So it's not going to pay too much, but it is that's your reliable-ish round robin type parlay thing of the day. And then the straight bet is Purdue Fort Wayne, and the straight bet is the Rangers, and the straight bet is maybe Dallas or the under in that game. All right. Now let's go to Mexican soccer. Vámonos. So I have this crazy soccer thing. Crazy soccer. This is the most connected crazy thing ever. As you can see, I stopped doing work on it. Picked up a little bit back in January and stopped back in September. I've got all these different leagues in here. Bundesliga, Champions League, English Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, MLS, Liga 1, and Liga MX Mexican Soccer, which we're going to talk about today. So you can see we've got like a win-loss history, 17-10, resulting draws to be determined games. Like, did we think the game was going to be a draw and it was a draw, like this one? This is saying Toluca versus Guadalajara. We thought it was going to be a 1-1 game. It was a 0-0 game. Interesting stuff like this. Now, how do we update this? It's not that bad except for player names, which I'll discuss. So here's what we've got is we've got the Liga MX independent file, which is connected to the Soccer Master Picks file. There are two different files going on here related to soccer. So I have already pre-downloaded stuff, and you're not going to be able to see these Excel files that open up. But I went to RotoWire and I grabbed the team removed. Why removed? Oh, I deleted all that. We get to do it again. Well, first we're going to do lineups. Control A, Control C. We're in the lineups of the Liga MX area. We're going to go to daily lineups and we're going to paste it right here as match destination format. It's column I and the first cell in column I. We're going to scroll down to make sure we got everything in. And it looks like, oh, we don't have everything. So we need to pull this orange formula down until we have everything. Now we have everything. All right. So what we're doing is we're importing lineups. There's this pivot table right here that you now have to refresh. And this refreshes all the lineups and helps to identify if we have every rostered player in here. Now let's get to the player information and show you what I mean. So within RotoWire here, there's a couple of things you need to do. First, we need to grab the lines for the Liga MX games today. That's right here. I'm going to open that up, but you won't be able to see it opening up, but I'm going to show you where it goes in the Liga MX file. I'm going to copy all this information, which is all these lines that are provided for the 2 games just tonight, being Friday, because they have late night games. There are a lot of them are on like West Coast Mexican time and stuff. So that goes right here in the cube as paste destination format, or just regular paste. We've now put in a couple games. This is also Juarez, which is spelled like this. So there's different accents and stuff. I like to override with the correct one, but sometimes they come in weird like that. Now we've just brought in the games, and right now it says 10, 9, 9, 10, which means we only have 10 players on Leon, 9 players on Juarez, 9 players on Cruz Azul, and 10 players on Puebla. We don't have the full roster being incorporated into, there's no final score yet. We don't have the full roster being incorporated. We're going to try to fix that, and I'll show you what we have to do. So we have to start bringing in all this. This is also not updated. I haven't updated this in 3 months, right? Like easy. So let's go over to fantasy sports, soccer. They should call it football with an accent. Liga MX injury report. That's one thing we need. We're going to download that. We also need, under Liga MX, we need team stats. And it's already, I've clicked all of them. Checkbox on every single one of them is how you do this. X. Now, Liga MX, we need player stats. So I did team stats already. Keep those, all those things checked. We got these 3. Okay. Now I'll show you where they go in the file. First one I'm working with is going to be the team stat one. So I'm copying the team stat one that I just opened up, and we're going to put that in the team stats area right here. Paste as values. Now, the names have weird accents and stuff are not working. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You could do something with it, but we're not going to. All right, so that's the team stat one. Next, we need to do the player stat one. So I'm copying the player stat one and bringing that into the player stats sheet right here. That goes right here as values. And we're going to scroll down and make sure that we have enough formulas. We don't. That means this stuff over here needs to be pulled down as well, because we now have a bunch of new players that just popped up in here. And some of these players have errors in their name, which I'm going to show you what to do with those in a second. So let's sort this by Streamland player name. I'll show you what we're going to do with all these guys that are all errors. These are all new players since I last updated. And this is where it starts to get difficult, but we're going to leave that there for a second. Okay, we did that. Now we're going to bring in the injury report. It's the last one we need to bring in. And we're going to put the injury report where it says injuries right here. Eduardo Aguirre has apparently been out for a while. Eduardo Aguirre, estás enferma por muchas meses. All right, so now that we've done that, we're in an interesting spot. So what has happened is there's this matrix sheet now. This is the big sheet where you start to fix everything that's wrong and getting all the player names correct. So we have player names that are not in our matrix yet. And a matrix is just a full list of all potential players and what team they're on currently is what we're doing. And they have a name that might appear, and then they have a finalized name that's correct. And sometimes they have an abbreviated player name that's related to the rosters here. So let me show you what we have to do. So there's all these players with errors, okay? All these ones with errors, all these guys. And they have teams. So we're bringing in their name and the team. And we're going to copy that, and we're going to put it in the matrix here at the bottom. This is supposed to be the guy's name, and his streamline name and this name should be the same name. So we're going to put this right here. It's the name, the team, and the rest of this stuff is formulas. We're going to pull these formulas down. And you can see that they kind of automatically fill in some things sometimes. So if they're able to find this name on the lineup sheet, they just found it automatically for us. But some of these don't work. And it means that, like for example, this is wrong. B. Romero is not Lucas Romero. And this is where I'm going to kind of tell you that editing this player roster database is tedious and difficult. And players' names have accents in them. I mean, muchos hombres con mexicanos tienen cuatro nombres, tres apellidos y una first name too. Like it's nuts. There's accents everywhere, and this is not restricted to just Mexican soccer. It's restricted to all of these essentially foreign leagues to a United States person. So I'm not going to go into super in-depth how you update this, but let's at least check. Now we're in our lineup sheet. Let's refresh. And what happens is anybody who's not in the lineup shows up here. Like Ramirez Garcia is questionable for Leon. And that's why his name's not showing up here because, actually, no, his name's not showing up here because we don't have him in the list. Well, we do, but we can't find him right. Actually, did I just see Lucas Romero before I press that? No, it's Ramirez Garcia. And sometimes you got to find his name. Like, do we not have it? I mean, how many Ramirez's are there? I mean, seriously, right? Ramirez. Yeah, he's a new player. So what you actually have to do is you have to go into RotoWire and you got to get his exact name. Jose David. So you got to grab this and actually bring it in to the roster sheet right here. And it's pink means we already have that name. So guess what? Let's find that name. And you can see that as I scroll up here, it'll let me scroll up in a second. No? I thought we had that. It's pink. That means we should have both. Huh. Well, it said it's pink, so it says it's there, but it's not there. Anyway, this is how you add that person. And they're going to now show up on the roster sheet in the lineups. And they're now going to work. See, his name just showed up. He's game time decision. So really, you got to go through all these guys and get all these right. See this here? There's a way to do this where I then go through all of them. Oh, man, there's a lot. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, goodness. Here's how I do that. Oh, gosh. There's a lot. Well, let's take a look at how many we actually have. 10, 10, 9, 12. All right, so we're screwed up on Cruz Azul. We have one too many on Puebla and one too few on Leon and Juarez, but it's pretty close. So let's just go with that. All right, let's just not update the rest of those players right now because I don't want to. But it's something you should do, and I should get all those names correct. But it's an ongoing process, and it's why I don't like doing this every day, because unless you want to pay me to do this every day, I can't be motivated to do this soccer every day. But let's go and refresh our master picks sheet, and let's go to today. And we have predictions for these games after all that. The answer is 2-1 León and 2-1 barely Puebla. And remember, those teams were, this tells you the number of players somewhere, doesn't it? Thought I put that on here. Lineup count. You can see Cruz Azul is short. So this game might be like 1-1 or 2-2 because they're short a couple guys. And Puebla's up a little. So this is almost like a 1-1 game, but it barely says Puebla would win. If you're picking a team tie, no bet, it's probably Puebla and it's probably León barely. But this game is also close to a draw. So you can see it could be 1-1 here. So it's not that great, and it requires a lot of work on these variable sheets. I need to build a macro to test variables on all this to get results. It's another thing I could do, although I don't know if the macro is even going to work because this file is connected to so many other files, so it might not work right. But we can certainly start paying attention to this and messing around with it and looking at what happens because we've just updated everything. And I mean, the line is money line draw loses, money line draw pushes. So it's minus 120 Leon and plus 120 Puebla, which is not getting the that's a good line for tie is a draw on that as a straight bet. That's why I said soccer does have good lines. I will admit that. It's a tougher game, but the lines do pay. But there's a lot of times that you can get, obviously underdog lines for sure on the three-way of picking a team to win. And there's also goals and stuff. So, it thinks that both these games stay under 3.5 goals, and that they're somewhere between 1 and 3 goals really on both of them, but something probably like 2 goals each game. So it thinks both games go over 1.5. To look at it that way. But neither game goes over 3.5. It's another way to look at that. All right. So good luck, everyone. May all your picks be winning in hockey, in college basketball, and of course, in football. In football, Mexicano, Mexican Bancomer. All right. Good luck. Now your picks be winning.